talked about daily life. Government, the need to understand that local leaders, elders hold positions in society out there. History, the genocide, trade and business, and then we took a lot of time to talk about art, and especially proverbs, as we're going to see in a short while. And one of the team writers at the end of the session said they realized the need to be culturally mindful about our audiences, ways of life. So we highlighted as I mentioned, the issue of English replacing French, and the fact that these children don't have as many English books available, and being able to avail a book of stories from out here will be received pretty well. These children are bilingual, mainly speaking Kinyarwanda, and additionally trying to improve their ability to speak English. And as I said, instruction is now in English in their classrooms. Swahili is spoken in some parts of Rwanda, but not by these children. These children are not able to speak Kiswahili because they've not moved out of their territory. And we used some video clips to highlight this. We'll not be able to show you that, unfortunately. We talked about art. We shared some artifacts from Rwanda, some musical instruments, and other kinds of items from that culture. We talked about the fact that culture is changing and rapidly. We watched video clips on rap music in Kinyarwanda, R&B music also in Kinyarwanda. If you have an interest in this, I could send you the link. Then we took a lot of time to talk about the fact that African cultures in many cases are very oral as opposed to leaning heavily on written communication, and proverbs being used quite a bit in oral communication. We shared a lot of proverbs with the writers. We had them each talk about the proverbs, try to make meaning of some of these proverbs, and then to try and identify equivalent ones in their own society or in the Western culture. Yeah, the verse that, what does that mean? The rich man doesn't dance badly. Okay. Then we talked about illustrations, the need to be careful about illustrations. Give them an example of, as I said, I used to work in developing literacy primers, and there was one primer which had been developed where the writers were very keen in trying to identify or to utilize some specific letters of the alphabet in generating a specific lesson. And the only word that they could come up with was the word for an arm in that language. And so they used the word and drew the picture of an arm, an illustration of an arm out there. And the readers would ask, so what is the arm doing there on its own? Where is the body? And what happened to the owner of the arm? So illustrations are very important. Some of the comments, a comment by an IU writing partner. I learned in this workshop the importance of always avoiding stereotypes in cross-cultural materials. Also enjoyed learning about Rwandan proverbs. Many of the proverbs have a similar moral to American proverbs, yet will be expressed in different words. I really enjoyed examining unfamiliar cultures. I feel like understanding cultures will make it easier to write something that can appeal to that culture and that members of that culture can relate to. I also think that looking at other cultures, making comparisons can help us better understand our cultures, the differences and similarities between them. Then we shared with them a 10-point checklist from a cultural perspective. the need to avoid stereotypes, the need to balance genders, reflecting an honest picture of your own culture, use of standard language, being neutral and respectful to religion, and then of course illustrations. So the key question to ask is, will this stick, the training? And we've begun to receive some of the write-ups from some of these students, and we'll just share with you some of the drafts. Rose is 10 years old. She goes to school with her many friends. Rose and her friends like to watch movies, go shopping, and play soccer. On the first day of school, the teacher, Miss Nagley, came up to the front of the room and said, "We have a new student in our class. Her name is Eve, and she's from France." So you can tell there'll still be the need to edit some of this. My big strong house keeps out the bad. It keeps me safe, so I'm not sad. I feel the love of mom and dad, but sometimes they make me mad. Okay? And this one is very interesting. My math and reading classes forever will be divided. This is the fault of my outrageously sneaky teachers. Let me introduce to you Mr. R and Mr. Martin, math teachers of Rice Academy in New Jersey. They rule the school through their recklessness and intelligence. Of course, we'll need to edit this, and the editorial team will have to decide whether it communicates the correct attitude to children in a different culture.
I just want to add something to that James and I didn't talk about. But these drafts just came in. We just got them this week. And tomorrow, the writing partners are going to meet. The IU students will meet on Skype with their writing mentees in New Jersey and talk about these stories and try to help them to adjust them.
Okay, so for more information on the Books and Beyond project, just go to indiana.edu/books-b. Okay. All right, so we will take any questions.
Yeah, and at this time we have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question. So you mentioned using the teacher's guide to share some of the background knowledge or help to explain sort of vocabulary and things. So did you consider other alternatives to that? For example, maybe like an appendix in a student's version or a glossary or something like that, so that students could find that information?
We did, and it was a question of page length, or number of pages, and how much we could afford. And the decision has always been to leave off the glossary. We did create flashcards, picture cards, and we laminated for the teachers to use with pictures of vocabulary that we thought would be difficult. As a way of trying to address that.
Could you talk a little bit more about the point you brought up about illustration? Because it seemed to me that if you could find ways to use illustrations, that would be particularly helpful. But I understand about the danger. How do you handle that? Do you check the illustrations over carefully, or try to avoid them, or what do you do?
A couple of issues. First, the entire team will look through the illustrations, and basically our concern is that the illustrations would not communicate inaccurately about the story or the culture that's being represented. For instance, if all the illustrations just carry one gender, then we would say we need to adjust this here and there. If all the illustrations maybe have elderly people, these are books for
but how do
children.
you do that? You tell a 10-year-old, no, draw a different picture?